Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Bryce Lewis back at it again for another Believe in Hawks episode. The Atlanta Hawks have an exciting victory in Atlanta, beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 130 to 123 in Atlanta. The Hawks getting big performances from Jalen Johnson and Nickeil Alexander-Walker once again to pick up a big win, along with great contributions from Onyeka Okongwu, Zachary Ricochet hitting a big three late, and then also getting multiple double-digit scores from the bench. We're going to break that all down today on Believe in the Hawks. I know it's been a second since we did the last episode, but we are back, and we're going to talk about everything we saw tonight against the Cavaliers. I appreciate you guys supporting me through it all. If you enjoyed this episode or first time watching, and definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like the video, and leave a comment down below. All about engagement on this channel. Go ahead, leave comments down below so other Hawks fans can also engage with you about your points, your opinions on this team moving forward, and also with me in the discussions we talk about in this episode. Then also, audio listeners, this is available on any audio platform. You can listen to Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you want. You can find Believe in Hawks. Leave a 5-star rating. Definitely helps support the podcast. And then also, if you want to interact with me on social media, you can follow me on Twitter at Bricey_2K, BRICEY_2K, if you want to keep up with me and interact with me on there as well. So now that we got the plugs out the way, let's go ahead and get into the action. So, one of the big criticisms of the Atlanta Hawks during the Trae Young, while he's been out with the sprained MCL, is they don't do well against good teams, right? They've beaten some good teams like the Suns, right? But they've also lost to some good teams, right? They lost to Cleveland the first time they played them this season. And, so people wondered, a lot of their wins come against teams with losing records. Oh, they're not beating anybody, right? But one thing Hawks fans have complained about and people have complained about is the Hawks don't beat teams they're supposed to. Yes, against Washington, not a pretty performance. You hated it, right? But at the same time, Hawks also had a very difficult schedule. Basically home on the road, had that West Coast road trip. They have played, I think they're tied for the most road games played so far in this NBA season. So this schedule has not been easy. And to still sit here with a winning record, a few games above 500, and kind of been able to weather the storm that has been this season so far has to make you feel really good as a Hawks fan and if you're on this team. And I mean, really tonight's game against Cleveland, listen, Donovan Mitchell went crazy tonight. I mean, Mitchell had one of those games where it just feels like he'll sometimes throw something up and it goes in, and I think the Hawks really tonight, I think, did a good job on other guys. Evan Mobley, we know what kind of player he is. He's a guy people think can hit that next level of stardom. But I think they actually did a good job on Darius Garland tonight. Yeah, Garland got open a few times on some shots. But I think in terms of when he tried to attack the paint, he really couldn't do what he wanted to do to the Hawks. And he only finished with 15 points in the game. So I think he did a good job. One of the big topics also coming into this game was DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter kind of saying that, hey, those guys can't stop me over there. Kind of talking about Atlanta can't stop him. They ain't got nobody who can stop him. It's interesting, hearing DeAndre bark like that about his former team. A guy who, has been through the trials and tribulations in Atlanta. And, Onyeka Okongwu, and he was asked about DeAndre Hunter coming back. He said, I don't want no tribute video. He's going to get a hard foul from me. And hilariously enough, he got into it with Mo G tonight. After Hunter dunked it, I think DeAndre was talking a lot of smack. Moji wasn't with it. Gave him a couple of shoves, and he got teed up. But they both got fouls for that, I think, as well. So I mean, you can see the energy was high tonight. Both teams competing at the highest level to try to be successful. And so I think overall, this game was a very, like I said, very exciting game, high scoring game, 130-123. Like defense was not at a premium in this game, but teams had to make crucial stops to make runs. And as they always say in this league, basketball is a game of runs. So, that's kind of was the case tonight. For the Hawks, again, Jalen Johnson continues to be impressive. Triple-double tonight for Jalen Johnson. He has been incredible for this team. He has really seemingly taken that next step. I mean, like I said, the biggest thing we've always said with him is staying healthy. And so far, outside of a couple of knick-knack injuries, he's been healthy this season. And when he's played, he's produced. Yeah, and really he needs this bounce back. Against Washington, he has probably his worst game of the year against the Wizards. And, he had to bounce back today against, a team who employs 2 7-footers, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. And he responded, like I said, 29, 12, and 12, and did it all tonight. I mean, a few games ago, he had a game where he had 0 turnovers with 7+ assists. So I mean, it just kind of shows you the maturation of Jalen Johnson. He's had to grow a lot in this period of time without Trae Young kind of being the number one guy. And, something that, he continues to still work through, and he'll continue to still work through as the season goes on. But the fact that he has been at this level and played this well, I think has been really, really impressive and really good for him. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker, also, I mean, a lot of people have said it. I also agree with that statement. He was the best free agent pickup for the Atlanta Hawks this offseason, and the best free agent pickup of the entire offseason. A lot of people have been shocked by the offensive leap he's made. Obviously, he's put into a different position, especially without Trae. He's a starter, and he knows that, hey, they need me to step up offensively. They need me to give more for this team if they're going to be able to win games. And he's done that. He's done that, and the Hawks have really benefited tonight. And it feels like every game, because I felt like when Naw was playing early in the season, he was giving us like 16, 18 points. You're like, oh, okay. Okay. Because like I said, one of my biggest questions about this Hawks team was when they lost guys like Bogey and them over the years, and DeAndre when he came off the bench, who was going to be that guy who could put up points, right? And Nickeil has taken that. And he's been a starter, and now he's averaging basically 20 points a game plus. So he has been fantastic offensively for this team. He's done a lot of good things for this team offensively and just giving them that offensive punch that they need. And that's one of the reasons why, they've been able to kind of win these high scoring games. I said one of the big things I said at the beginning of Trae Young's injury is I'm worried about this team in high scoring games because who's going to be that other guy with Jalen Johnson, or if KP's not available to score? And so far, Nickeil has been that guy. And so, I mean, I think that just kind of shows you once again, the growth and maturation of players just sometimes being in a new position and in a new role. And Nickeil has been a guy who's taken straight advantage of that. So really good stuff from him for sure. And then Yeka Kongos can seem to be consistent. It's funny. I said this on Twitter. I said, people, you talk about a Yeka too small. I don't think he's that good. What does a Yeka do well? And, he's developed as a 3-point shooter this year. And he's pretty much, kind of showed you. And I said this, and this is what I exactly said. I said, y'all judge this man because of his height when he was playing next to George Niang and Terrence Mann at the 4. That's what y'all were judging him off of. The numbers last year when he played with Jalen were positive. Plus, in the defense and offense. There's a reason why when Okongwu starts this year, the Hawks have a better record than with Porzingis. We've seen with Porzingis, Jalen Johnson, that has not been a great lineup defensively. With Jalen, it's been good offensively and defensively. And so I think that, if you pair him with the right people, because like, again, every roster is a puzzle piece. You want to pair players with the right group of players. I think sometimes we're so used to analyzing a player from a solo, just them perspective and not thinking about what they have around them. But sometimes what they have around them can help impact how good they can be. And, Kongu was good even with what I mentioned, George Niang and Terrence Mann. But because we were losing games and we were struggling in certain aspects, we just thought, oh, Okongu's not good. It's him. And then you see him with real bigs, and wow, Kongu's pretty good. Kongu's pretty crucial to this team. Kongu does a lot. We've been saying it. Y'all are seeing a productive player, and for some reason you're telling yourself he's not good. And I'm like, I wish I had a bad player that was productive. I mean, shoot. But those guys have been big for this Hawks team because all I've wanted when Trae Young went down is just be around 500. Just be around 500. And they've done that and more. They have been able to stay above 500, and that has been big for them. Where now, whenever Trae comes back, they will be in this pole position to even maybe take this even further and increase that gap between winning and 500. And now they're up there in the top 4, top 5 seeds in the Eastern Conference. So I think this is really, really a game that they needed to win just to beat a team like Cleveland, who they'll be battling for positioning throughout the entire season. You're now 1-1 in the season series, but also just for their confidence moving forward. Because like I said, this game, tonight was a game of runs. Cleveland's going to be a team that's going to be around. And this is a team the Hawks will be able to compete with. I think the Hawks also understand that, every game's a game to improve and get better and understand your role and try to, these types of wins make you feel like, okay, we're winning these games without Trae. Now what happens if we don't have Trae? I mean, we do have him back. You feel like you're going to probably even have a better result off of that. So really, really good stuff from the Hawks tonight. Let's look at some of the team stats in this game. Hawks tonight, 53% from the field. Cleveland only shot 46%. Hawks shot 37% from three. Cleveland had 44%, but Hawks had 16 threes to the Cavaliers 17. So they only won that battle by three. Hawks shot 18 to 26 from the free throw line. Cleveland shot 18 to 20. Hawks only had 12 turnovers. One of the big issues when the Hawks lose is that they have a crap ton of turnovers. They were able to kind of keep that limited tonight to 12. Cleveland had 17. The Hawks had 36 assists. Cleveland had 29. Hawks were able to block 5 shots. Cleveland's only blocked 4. And overall, like I said, Hawks pretty much were able to play with pace tonight, which I think has always been big for this team, playing with pace. They were able to get in transition, and especially in the third quarter, I felt like they were able to kind of control the pace. You hear that a lot with this team, but I think they really were able to do that. And hold on, I'm trying to look up a stat. Hawks were 36-17 in fast break points tonight. 36-17. That should tell you a lot. A whole bunch. They were able to get out, run on Cleveland, get their defense off guard, unable to get organized, and they took advantage. Guys like Zachary Richie, who's one of the best transition players in the league, as much as we criticize Zach, he's one of the best transition players in the game. And the numbers reflect that. I'm not saying he's like Jalen or LeBron in transition, but when he's in transition, that's when he's at his best. And like I said, he had a big 3 tonight too. So Hawks had 25 points off Cleveland's turnovers. Cleveland only had 13. I think those are 2 stats that the Hawks look at and try to determine if we can win those battles, we have a great chance of winning the game. And they were able to do that tonight against Cleveland. So let's go ahead and dive into some player performances from tonight's game. Like I said, Jalen Johnson tonight, 29, 12, and 12 against the Cavs. I mean, Jalen Johnson's popped up on the NBA.com MVP ladder. That's how good of a year Jalen Johnson's been having in people's eyes, is that the league is starting to recognize him as a potential MVP candidate. People feel like he is a no-brainer all-star player and probably should be considered for all NBA teams. That's the type of year Jalen Johnson has been having, and that's what a lot of people have been thinking. Jalen, with Trae Young, has been one of the main beneficiaries of Trae being gone. And he's really gotten more comfortable because, like I said, he's been put in different positions. He's been asked in fourth quarters to kind of lead this team down the stretch, bring the ball up, and try to make the right play, whether that's him attacking, whether that's a shot, whether that's him finding the open guy. And, Quinn kind of talked about it. He talked about he's going to see different looks. And every night's going to be different because he's going to have different guys defending him. But all those chances and all those opportunities are a chance for him to kind of grow from it, improve, look at film. And then when he's in that situation again, which you will be in multiple times in this league, know how to better attack it and know how to better, just better, navigate it. And I think you're seeing him active. I know defense has been a criticism. I know his on-ball defense and sometimes him off rotations have not been great. But there's one thing that I think tonight that Jalen should be able to do, and he did it tonight against Cleveland. Obviously, you're playing against a bigger team. Cleveland has 2 7-footers. They're a bigger team in general. There was a play in that fourth quarter where Jalen Johnson contested a DeAndre Hunter, could have been a block, turned into a layup. If you're Cleveland, you're probably thinking, okay, DeAndre maybe should have made that. But the fact that he said, I'm going to contest, because sometimes the issue is when a guy attacks the rim, you'll just see players move out the way and let him score. In that situation, in that crucial stretch in the fourth quarter, Jalen went up there and contested it, and DeAndre missed the shot. We've seen it the last few times when guys try to dunk, Jalen will jump up and reject their junk. That at least is something Jalen should be able to do, is contest shots at the rim because of his athleticism. And that is something that I think you've seen in these last few games, and you saw it tonight, contesting shots. Just don't give him an easy basket. That's really all you want. If you're Quinn in the coaching staff, don't let him get easy looks. Contest the shot without fouling. What they always say, contest without fouling. And that's what Jalen did tonight. And I think if he can do that, that in of itself can make an impact defensively. It's interesting because, people maybe wonder, why does Okongwu and Jalen look better defensively than like Porzingis and Jalen when you think of, Porzingis has more length. Okongwu's really good at defensive communication and being at his spot. I think Jalen Johnson, with Okongwu, plays a little differently. Because I think sometimes when you have a guy like KP, you kind of try to let him occupy the space because he's such a big player and you expect him to cover more ground. But then the issue is that because of that, you're relying a lot on KP to clean up for your mistakes. Where when you have Okongwu, Jalen has to be better overall defensively because Okongwu's not going to necessarily clean up for his mistakes. Sometimes you see that with teams, they're more aggressive when you have that shot blocker because they know, he can clean up for me. When Okongwu's out there, they have to be more in sync defensively, and you see that. And you just hope that when KP plays, they can become maybe more in sync defensively. So it's not about just KP trying to fill spaces because he's 7'3". It's because the defense is in sync and that they're making a constant effort on the defensive end to contest and make every shot difficult for the offense that they are playing on that given night. And I think Jalen's been a big part of that. So I think, it just feels like Jalen has all the tools to be a star player in this game. And I think performances like he's had, winning Eastern Conference Player of the Week, just continues to show the progress he's made since really being given the chance by Quinn Snyder all those years ago, and now you see the player he's become today. Let's go into Dyson Daniels tonight, 10, 8, and 9, 5 of 8. Obviously, a big talking point for him is that he's regressed offensively. Now, in terms of earlier this season, he was missing a lot of layups. He's not missing them now. He's being able to attack the paint. He shot well tonight. He just isn't going to be a high-volume guy. And like I said, Dyson Daniels is a guy who you would look at his game differently because he also 9 assists tonight, 8 rebounds. Does a lot of different things. Had 3 steals tonight. And so I think that overall, I think he did some good stuff. Like I said, it'll be interesting for me. How does Dyson's game change when Trae comes back? Because he was struggling when Trae, when for the short period we saw Trae, he wasn't playing well. I want to see how he plays when he's kind of back to the 2-guard type of role, and then Trae's like the main playmaker on the floor. And just, because you always think Trae can help create easier offense for guys, and you wonder if he can do that for Dyson. So, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, like I said tonight, 28 points tonight. The offensive leap has been incredible. Just him giving the offense. Listen, he's, it's funny. I said that, when you think about star players, you think about the playoffs, you get to the playoffs and you kind of basically are in this place of, okay, let's say you play the Knicks, right? Jalen gives you 20, 25. Cat can give you 20, 25. Okay, for the Hawks, if you don't got Trae Young, okay, Jalen may be able to give me 20, 25. But who coming with me? The way Nickeil's playing, it looked like Nickeil Alexander Walker coming with you. And I think that's why, to me, I know people were happy with Zach finishing the game tonight. I tell this to people all the time. It's not going to be an easy decision when Trae gets back who's going to finish games, Nickeil or Zach. Because, I mean, you're seeing this from Nickeil. It's like, I mean, I don't have a reason to not have him finish games. He's not giving me a reason. He's playing better than Zach. But I know why you want to give Zach those reps. And, Nickeil's just been a guy who's been really, really good. And listen, would there be a night where Quinn would have the balls to say, Dyson, you're on the bench. We're going with Nickeil here? Would he do that? It'll be something we have to obviously see when Trae gets back into the lineup. But, overall, Nickeil's been great, man. Best free agent signing of the offseason in the NBA. He's been really good. And the Hawks really benefited from him offensively, just, taking that next step and giving him that offensive production that's been needed. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Nickeil Alexander, 18, 7, and 4 tonight. Really, really played well. Just his improvement in defensive rotations, his communication on the floor, his ability to be able to shoot, and then even tonight, you play, it's funny. When you play teams like Cleveland and you have 2 7-footers like they do, one of the things that Cleveland hopes to have the advantage on a night and basis is in the paint. Sorry, I don't know why I'm struggling. Is in the paint. You think, okay, we have the height, we got skilled bigs. We should be able to, dominate in the paint. And Congo tonight against Cleveland really did a lot of driving. He took some threes, but there were times he just put the ball on the floor and went after the bigs. And he found success at the rim. People forget, before the 3-point shot, Onyeka could score around the rim. He has a good touch around the rim. And tonight he kind of reverted back to that. And I think that was big for him. Because he was able to give him good offensive output. I mean, he's been one of the more consistent guys for the Hawks this year offensively. And like I said, tonight was just another example of that. So he did some really good stuff tonight against that Cleveland front line. And I think Onyeka Okongwu again continues to be impressive. Somebody asked me, can we survive without Kristaps? And I'm like, yes, because you have Onyeka Okongwu. You have another starting center on your roster. And then you go to Mo. Quinn hasn't really played Newell as much. Don't know what that's about, but you still have very capable bigs once KP is out. And I think that's the depth that they wanted. They wanted the ability to say, hey, it doesn't have to be like it was in previous years where if we lose one big, we're paper thin. Now we're in a bad position. And Onyeka has been a big part of that. So really good stuff from him tonight. Zach, 16 points tonight. It's kind of funny in this game because I felt like Zach wasn't playing enough in this game. He played some stretches, but I feel like he wasn't playing enough. And I know a lot of people question the handling of him because some people feel like he's not getting enough time or he's not getting enough time consistently, where for a guy like him who's young, like, well, how is he going to improve if he's, it feels like if he makes a mistake, he's going to get pulled. And listen, Quinn went back to him early in the fourth quarter. And it worked out for him. I mean, he hit a big 3 late in that fourth quarter to help the Hawks kind of get a lead, have that 7-0 run to end the game. And, listen, it feels like with Zach, I've noticed in second halves, Zach tends to play better. He tends to be more comfortable when the game goes on. I think when he starts, it's like he's trying to fill it out and figure out, okay, where do I fit in? And then I think, sometimes Zach can have that hot start, but sometimes it's like it takes him a minute. And then the second half, you notice, he seems more confident. And like we've talked about before, we want him to get more shots up tonight. He was 6 of 7, 2 of 7, 2 of 3 from the 3-point line. So I mean, statistically, you had no reason not to play him. It seems like when he did put up shots, they worked. He made them, and he was impactful in that way. So he had the 3rd highest plus minus of all starters. So, he did a really good job in the minutes he played, and I'm glad that Quinn had the confidence to go with him and finish with him tonight. Mo Gay, 12 points tonight, 24 minutes, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Obviously, again, playing against a big front line. Had 2 blocks tonight, 5 of 7 from the field. Battling against those guys. I think Mo Gay, like I said, he's been more of a consistent, steadying guy. Offensively could vary on a night-to-night basis. If he can get that push float, that push shot, that push floater, I think that'd be a really good addition to his game. But defensively, we know what he brings to the table and provides some shot blocking for the Hawks, and that's what they need. So, really good stuff from him tonight. And Vic Krejci taking 12 shots, man. Vic Krejci, man, become more aggressive offensively. And that's the biggest thing. And sometimes people criticize Zach about it because they say Zach doesn't, sometimes get shots up. But Krejci, he's become more confident and just gets shots up. And sometimes he just has those stretches where he'll make 2-3 threes in a row and make a play. So, really good stuff from him. Luke Kennard, 3 points tonight. Really didn't get a lot of shots up tonight. Keaton Wallace, limited in this game. Really good, smart decision by Quinn to limit Keaton Wallace's minutes tonight against Cleveland. Going against Donovan Mitchell, doing against Darius Garland. This is not a good matchup for him. He'll get cooked. So it's good to limit his minutes outside of spot minutes that you need him. So, and I've always said this. I would assume when Trae comes back, we're going to replace Keaton Wallace. I hope we replace Keaton Wallace with Trae Young, and then that's your rotation. If you want to go 9 or if you want to go 10 and add, an extra big. Well, if KP's there, then you would go 10. So, yeah. So overall tonight, like I said, Hawks do really get some good stuff, man. Like I said, they're not going to advance the NBA Cup, but you are currently, hold on a second, 12-8 right now in the standings. You're tied with Cleveland for 5th. You're doing, like I said, you're playing pretty well. Bounce back after a bad loss. You got the Sixers coming up on Sunday. That's a very winnable game. Sixers got some guys, but very winnable game for the Hawks. And then we may hear something about Trae Young's status this weekend. He's set to be 4 weeks tomorrow on a Saturday. Whenever you listen to this, probably that day of when you're listening to this, he's supposed to be reevaluated. And we'll see if Trae Young will be ready to go soon. So Trae Young's return is near. We just don't know. The Hawks don't need to be in a rush. After next Saturday, they will be off for 12 days because of the in-season tournament. So if they don't feel comfortable bringing Trae back, then they can bring him back for the 18th Thursday game against the Hornets. So, like I said, the Hawks have some options here, but overall, really good performance tonight against a good team in Cleveland. Big contribution from Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Yeka Okongwu, and those guys, Zachary Richache. I think, the Hawks really need to win like this just for confidence, but also just to continue to maintain what they've been doing without Trae Young and just staying afloat and just being above 500. So right now, probably a good night as a Hawks fan, how you feel about this team and, just trying to get better. Just trying to get better every game, as most players and coaches will say. So I think that's about it for me, guys. If you enjoyed this Believe in Hawks, definitely go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like the video down below, leave a comment about anything we discussed in this video, any comments that you feel like you want to make about this game. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on that. If you listen to this to audio, leave 5 stars on the pod, and also follow me on Twitter at Bryce_2K as well. I appreciate all the love and support y'all give me. And so, it's your boy Bryce Lewis. See you next time.